You are live. Hello. First off, before we start, people in the chat, let us know that we're on and you can hear me fine. Because I haven't used StreamYard in a little bit, so I don't know if things are working. Like just say like hello in the chat or something like that, or I don't know, anything to give me kind of a signal that we are online. But if we are, today we're gonna have an open talk with Avatar creators, Avatar YouTubers about the upcoming Netflix Avatar series. Today I have with me Uncle Ira. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. This is this is a awesome experience for me to be a part of. So I really want to thank Antoine for letting me on and get to talk about Avatar, everything in the world of Avatar. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, I have to mute the stream.
Yeah, I just heard that too. I heard the double.
Yeah.
I heard the doubling going on.
Yeah, so I think it's working now. So yeah, thank you for having me on. This is an awesome opportunity. So appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like anytime I see someone who's just like really into the show or whatever, I just like talking to Avatar fans, like in like a diverse set of Avatar fans. I don't like hearing like the same opinions all the time or like all that stuff. So it's always fun having people on and like getting the temperature of everyone in the fandom. Brandy, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Avatar Brandy on YouTube. I make mostly shorts. My channel has gone over a few different name changes over the course of this year, but now it's Avatar Brandy. So I'm happy to be here, though.
And then, of course, the OG. Most people don't realize this, I don't think, but Airspeed Prime has been doing this for quite some time. I want to say that you are now the oldest Avatar channel, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong on
that. No idea. Certainly one of them. Maybe like continuously active, even though there's probably some older. I don't really know the details, but anyway, yeah, I am Airspeed Prime, and basically I cover pretty much everything Avatar. All the news, even the smaller things like the comics and the novels, and also quite heavy into the lore as well. But that's what I do.
Awesome. And then you guys know me, you're on my channel, so you guys have some familiarity with me already. But first, what I want to talk about, let's go over the history of what we thought, back in 2018 when the show was announced to, that big gap in between to now being just less than a week away from all the episodes premiering. Because I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. Do you guys know if it's been confirmed that it's going to be binged? I know people are assuming it's going to be binged, but I haven't seen confirmation of that.
Yeah,
I actually made a video about this. I think it would just be to assume that because it is Netflix, and Netflix is the streaming service out of all the streaming services that primarily does focus on binge content. I would assume that it's going to be binge. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't officially confirm that.
Announce that, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, given this is like, especially to that point, this is maybe going to be one of their biggest shows that they've ever like put any amount of money into. Like I feel like that would be something important to announce, but hey, it's Netflix, so you always have to assume.
Right, and the reason they do that apparently is because of the way that Nielsen ratings work now. It's based on minutes watched, so you get more of a boost if you put all your stuff out at the same time, and the binge people binge it. Versus if you do week to week, then that trickle takes a little bit longer to accumulate. But yeah, I'll start. So what I did when I first heard in 2018 that this was going to happen, I was not too pleased. Hold on, we have someone coming in a little bit later here. Hold on, here we go. I remember it happened because I was working at this other YouTube company called JK Films. Also, before I actually go into my story, we should have the Avatar introduce himself, so we don't have just a blank spot. Avatar, so we were doing introductions for a second here, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm late. I was taking my dog out, but I don't know if you guys know me. I run the AvaTubers YouTube channel. How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Right.
Hello.
Let me pull up the stream here. All right. So what did I miss?
Just introductions. We literally just did introductions. I talked about how we're gonna just talk about kind of our timelines. That's the next thing we're talking about. Like from when you heard about the announcement in 2018 to the big gap in between, and now being a week away from the Netflix drop. Okay. So I was starting, and I was saying that when I got the announcement, I was working on another YouTube channel. So I made a quick video, like a really quick, like like dirty video from my phone saying like, I don't know why we need this. This is dumb. I have no interest in this. The only reason that I'm actually semi like okay with it is because the original creators are involved, right? And then of course, a little bit later, the creators left, and they left on what I thought were extremely bad terms, especially with the language that Brian Konietzko used on his Instagram. Which is funny because we saw that Michael DiMartino was at the premiere, the LA premiere that just happened a few days ago. But no, Brian. And when that happened, I was like, all right, now I already was like checked out from the live action series, and I was like, I'm absolutely out of it. Then the teasers started dropping. Like the first images, I wasn't really a fan of. I thought like the costumes looked too clean. They looked too cartoonish. But then the teaser came out, that first one where we actually saw like live footage, and I was like, oh snap, I'm falling in love, and I don't want this to happen, because if you do that, that means heartbreak. And then the official trailer came out, and I was like, all right, I'm in. And then I went to the premiere 2 days ago, and I was freaking floored. And I'll talk about that more, as we go through the stream more. But that was sort of my timeline, like of going through this entire thing. I went from being like, nah, I don't want it, don't need it. Creators left. Oh, guys, this is going to be terrible. To seeing everything, and now being like, okay, this has the chance to be extremely good. Iro, go ahead and explain your timeline with Netflix.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be totally honest with you as well. I didn't know if this was actually ever going to get made in the first place. I mean, sometimes productions fall through, and things don't actually end up getting made, even though they got announced early on. And so even with the idea that the creators had left the project, that also could have possibly been another reason to say that, oh, Netflix is just going to now scrap the entire project. They're not going to move forward with it. And I think for a lot of people that could have been a bummer, but also I think for a lot of people who were still hesitant at the time, they probably would have been like, you know what, you're saving a lot of people some potential hard times, given the fact that we've already had one adaptation already before that was, not too good. And so, I think for me, it was just like, you know what, given that I'm somebody who's always open-minded to pretty much anything, and I've talked about this a lot on my channel, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. Let's see what they do. And like you, Antoine, I was like, when I saw that first trailer, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. They got me. I was like, this looks so on point. And then, of course, every time I started making videos on the Netflix adaptation and I started breaking everything down, I was like, you know what, they're really nailing this down. And so I think just progressively, as we've gone through every day and every week, as we now lead up to the eventual release next week, I think I'm definitely on board a lot more than if I wasn't. So yeah, pretty much overall, I think for the last couple of years leading up to when we were going to get this full trailer, I didn't really have to say much about it. But now that we do have stuff to see, I think, again, I'm all in. I'm ready for it. And so now that you guys have seen the first episode and the reactions have come out, I think that's also given me another big boost to wanting to see it a lot more next Friday. So, yeah.
Awesome. And then, Morgan, how about you? What was your timeline with this whole Netflix conundrum?
I was probably the most negative on it initially, kind of like you, where I just felt like, ooh, I don't know about this as like the future of the franchise, that Mike and Brian come back after like 4 years. This is what they're doing. It just didn't feel right, because I know like the whole reason they make Korra was not to make something super similar, but they're doing an adaptation. So I was relatively kind of like pleased in a way when the creators left the show, and then especially when Avatar Studios got announced, because it's like, okay, this live action is still going to happen, but the future of the franchise in terms of like animation is like assured. So this just became this kind of bonus project for me that, like, if it's good, great. If not, no real issues. And as we've gone through the kind of marketing cycle and have started to see stuff, I've been very pleased with what I've seen. I'm pretty positive about it. And even though live action adaptations are not really my thing, they're not super high on my popularity list for Avatar topics, I think it's an interesting thing. It's going to bring a lot of popularity back to the franchise. It already has. And I think that will just continue as we go forward. And that's really all I kind of want out of this. I feel I've always been one of the more fairer people in the community, maybe overly fair to the last Airbender movie. So I was never going to be, I think, immensely critical of the live action unless it was just a disaster, which it definitely doesn't seem to be.
Dope. AvaTubers, what was your timeline with everything?
Okay, I think I have some background noise. Can you guys hear it, or is my mic not picking it up?
I could hear it a little bit.
I mean, it's like a hissing, but it's not like a huge hissing or anything.
Okay, like there's like a whole on chainsaw like one of my neighbors is using, so it's very loud. Sorry about that. If you guys hear that?
I can hear it.
But my timeline with this whole show was when it got first announced, I was extremely excited about it. But then, when the creators left, I kind of just let's wait till we see the casting and hear more about it. And then I started this YouTube channel, and then the casting announcements came out, and I was like, wait, this looks pretty good. But I was still a little skeptical. And then eventually I made friends with Avatar News, and I talked to him about it, and he was really hyping me up, telling me about a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And I was like, wait, this is going to be really good. And I'm glad now that I've actually seen the first episode. It is good. It feels like Avatar. It looks like Avatar. It is Avatar. So that's basically my whole timeline.
Randy, how about yourself?
So I would say that I was probably a little more excited when it was first announced than some of you, just because I really was always like, I think I actually like had just finished Korra, and then this got announced. So for me, it was really exciting. And I also kind of felt like it was inevitable a little bit because obviously like the M. Night Shyamalan movie failed so much that it feels like, I don't know, it kind of felt right that they're gonna like try it again, But yeah, I would say over the years, the news cycle has been kind of rough. I feel like with this show, because we haven't really heard a lot, and then we started getting a ton of stuff all at once. But I'm really excited for all the stuff that I've seen. I'm still trying to like hold off any kind of judgment on it because I think there's no real way to like tell instantly by a trailer. But I mean, it looks in the spirit of the show. That's from the trailers at least.
And I can tell you, I can like vouch for that. That the spirit of the show is absolutely there. At least for episode 1, because that's all we got to see during the premiere is episode 1, and it floored me like how, like even watching that trailer, the full one. I remember there's a swell of music that happens when the theme plays, and it actually caught me. Like it made me teary eyed. There were 3 moments in the premiere that I got teary eyed, and it might have been not so much about what was going on the screen, though that was part of it. Like that's the catalyst of it. It was just the fact that it was like Avatar in live action properly, at least in my opinion, like a proper like Avatar, like things fully realized. In a way, I didn't think that they would be able to achieve or do. Oh, by the way, I should probably like set some standards here. Avatars, I don't know how much you can say. I can say like whatever I want in terms of the screening. I don't know how much you guys want to hear in terms of like Uncle Iroh, Morgan, and Brandy. Like I don't know how much you guys want to hear or not want to hear. And also chat too. Like we should probably set some ground rules.
If like a minimal spoiler is said, it's all good. I don't mind. After all, it is just the first episode.
Well, Netflix did tell me to keep it social reviews, but I could probably break some of that for this.
And then Morgan, what's your threshold?
Oh, and I don't care about spoilers.
Okay, cool. Okay. And then Brandy, you said also, right? You were
we're
all
good.
right. Oh, okay, cool. That makes it easy. But I probably should say this in terms of the chat. There is a possibility of us speaking about spoilers. It's only about episode 1. I can assure you that the things that we would talk about, nothing is going to be crazy in terms of like anything that would be spoiled. But if you don't want that at all, this is your chance to kind of jet and skedaddles. Some of you guys already know a lot of the spoilers though, because I did do my catch-up stream a day ago. So yeah. All right. So in terms of the first episode, Avatars, you want to go because you have the much more thorough experience because you got to walk. Well, I don't know if you got to walk the red carpet, but you did go to that.
Oh, there was some drama with the red carpet stuff, but I got on. Netflix told me in an email that I was gonna be my ticket covered the red carpet experience and the screening itself, and this random security guard was like, "Nope, we didn't say that," and he wouldn't let me on. He wouldn't let me on, but Eventually, word got to somebody, and he got me on the carpet. I got to take my photo, so I was happy. But yeah, no, that guy. He even gave me a hard time at the after party too. That guy was not a fan of me. But
Jeez Louise, it's like I was
Wow.
invited, bro. Like what?
yeah, I know. It was. I was like trapped in a glass box, like looking at everybody, like for like 15 minutes. Like, no, but I got on and I got to take the photos. It was a good experience.
And then when you got inside the theater, did they do like a introduction? Like did the
Yeah,
cast and
yeah.
crew spoke? Okay.
I think it was the director of Netflix originals who went up and gave a speech, and surprisingly, he did thank Avatar Studios and Paramount for their collaboration and help at the very beginning. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, they just talked about how hard they worked on the project, and it was like 6 years in the making. But during the screening itself, it was like emotions were heightened to an 11 because there were people next to me crying at certain moments, and then you had the whole crowd laughing when Sokka would tell a joke. So like people like to give me shit for my 10 out of 10 like reaction initially, but like you don't understand unless you're in that theater with those heightened emotions what it feels like. So like in that moment, it was truly perfect. But like
No, I
obviously,
believe it.
I could find things to critique if I really wanted to nitpick, obviously, and I could lower the score. But in the moment, it was perfect.
That's exactly what I said too. Because I gave it a 9 out of 10, but I said if I really want to nitpick it, the lowest it would be 8 out of 10. But still, it is an extremely net positive experience. Yes, you guys are gonna find stuff to nitpick. There were things that I didn't enjoy about some of the stuff, and we'll get into some of that. But overall, like it was crazy how good it was. Like
No, yeah. Gordon's performance was unexpectedly. It was amazing. Like I didn't expect it to be that good, but like the amount of emotion that he had in his voice when he was in a certain scene that I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the emotion in his voice, it was honestly showed so much more emotion than Aang had ever shown in the cartoon.
oh, that's a big thing I want to jump on is that the live action is a whole lot better at getting across the gravitas of what's going on. To the point where I've even advised people, like if you have young children in your life, if you're a parent, watching this, you definitely want to watch that first 15 minutes by yourself first.
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually shocked. Like it's a TV 14 rating. They were pushing the ceiling on what TV 14 can be because I was like, how is this not TV mature? Because people are getting burnt, like on screen, full on, like not really cutting away. Like it's like half screens type of stuff, but like you can tell that they're being burnt. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, it was very realistic too with the battles, like how when you would deflect a fire blast, you would get some of that ash on your face, stuff like that. It was, and the clothes would catch on fire at some moments. It was very realistic. I really enjoyed this take on Avatar.
Oh, just so I can open up to everyone else, are there things specifically that you guys want to talk about in terms of the episode 1, or things that you were unsure about, excited about? Like, Morgan, Uncle, Brandy, anything you want to say?
I'm curious about how all of the CGI is looking because that has always been my biggest fear. Specifically, like the animals. I'm a little afraid of them looking off. I guess I think it's kind of hard to. I don't know. I'm always just really worried about CGI these days. So,
I will say that I liked every single visual effect except for 2 key points. There was one time that Katara had a water ball, and this is like when she was like telling Aang that she's like the last waterbender, and there's a reason for that. There was one sequence where it was like kind of hanging in the air. I was like, that looks a little bit CGI, but it wasn't like super egregious. But it was like, I'm gonna throw up. It was more like yeah, I can tell that's it. And then when Aang goes into the Avatar site after seeing Gyatso, they have a close up on his face, and he has like Play-Doh face for a little bit,
it was all CGI.
Yeah, and I was like, that's kind of rough. That's kind of rough.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's because they didn't even film that scene. It was added last moment or something.
Yeah, but those are literally the only 2. Like so the opening sequence has basically like this earthbending spy who's trying to get a message out to the Earth Kingdom. That fight scene goes so hard. I'm actually so glad they did that because, of course, they're not going to have a lot of earthbending besides booming, and until book 2 when you talk. But you really feel the danger of bending. Like in the show, it definitely feels cartoonish. in live action, if you get hit with a rock or you get smashed into a wall, you're like, oh yeah, you're dead. Or you guys saw in the trailer how he like smashes the ground and like brings up all the pebbles and he shoots them out like a machine gun. Very similar, Morgan. So both you and I love the Kyoshi novels. The way the Kyoshi novels made the lethality of bending feel is the way the show makes it feel. Like it's a 1-for-1 of how that like the impact of that. So to the point where when Sokka and Zuko had their fight, like later on in the episode, same as it is in the show, it felt way more dangerous. Like I know that Sokka's not gonna die, but I'm like, bro, you're gonna get burnt. I just watched a bunch of airbenders just get smoked. Like I actually had fear in that moment.
Okay, that's exciting, for sure to hear.
Something I definitely want to ask about with regards to the fighting itself, because I know Brandy brought up the CG. I have been very, I guess, what's the word to say? I've been very, I really like when action in films is in camera. And I've talked about this a lot in my recent videos with regards to how I've said that I think the bending and the action looks pretty solid so far, even with the little snippets that they've shown so far, because of the fact that a lot of it looks like it is in camera and it's not like quick cut, shaky cam. And so from the most part, I wouldn't say this is a spoiler in any way, but would you say the action that was shown off so far looked like clean from like a camera perspective in terms of how they filmed it with the choreography and so on and so forth?
Take it away, Avatars. I kind of did the last one.
The chainsaw's going again, so
that's why.
yeah. But I think everything looked clean. It was shot well. I guess it could be, if you're not like a big CGI person, I guess things could be a bit uncanny, like because it's like all CGI because they replaced the volume screen in most shots.
Right.
But no, it looked good. The actual aesthetic of everything, the camera work, I thought it was a lot better than the Last Airbender movie. You know how the Last Airbender movie had those long 40-second one-shot scenes where it's like the camera doesn't cut? Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love me a good one-shotter, but the way they did it in the movie was just, listen, we all know the classic scene from the movie with the earthbending. I mean, I even to that point, it's just like the movie, I've actually said it before, I'll give credit where credit is due. The movie, basically because of the fact that it is made on a movie budget, the CGI actually doesn't look all that bad in the movie. So in some ways, when we're talking about the Netflix adaptation, they're dealing with a TV budget. So in some cases, I feel like some people do have to recognize that given that it is a television show, the budget is way less. And so there's also that point to where how is Netflix allocating and the showrunners allocating the budget to either the story or the CGI in terms of the action? And I think there's going to be an equilibrium in terms of what it looks like they're doing in terms of the story and in terms of adding in new scenes and new character, or not new characters, but new scenes with characters that we know already. And so I think it's just going to be interesting. So I think there's definitely that way to look at it. So that's all I wanted to add to that.
Well, Antoine, I don't know about you, but I thought it actually looked movie quality.
Yep, I was gonna say the same thing. I actually feel like we're kind of spoiled because we saw it in the theater, because it's gonna be different, obviously, seeing it on a TV screen or a computer screen. Because I'm gonna be watching it on a computer screen. Because it was movie quality for sure.
Yeah, the way it works with these Netflix shows that are going to be like the future of the franchise, when they come out with the budget, that's like their rough budget. They kind of just spend money until they're happy. So I don't think like the actual look of anything is ever going to be a problem. I think the entire show is going to look pretty good. I don't understand those people on Twitter that are criticizing the CGI because it looked amazing at the showing I went to.
Yeah, no, it looked great. The only critique I have with those two, like the water ball situation and the Play-Doh face for Aang.
The Play-Doh face. That I agree with you on that one. But the water ball, I liked the water ball because there was water dripping from the ball, and you could actually like the attention to detail, like the snow underneath it was starting to get wet too. It was cool.
You were asking about the action stuff. There were some critiques in the theater because I went to the fan. So to make it clear, AvaTubers went to the cast and crew screening, which happened earlier in the night. I went to the fan screening, which happened a little bit later. So I like this because it means you get like two different experiences. So in my screening, someone did have critiques about some of the air nomad genocide stuff being a little bit too cutty. And I didn't really agree with that because I felt like it was appropriate in that moment because it was supposed to represent like the chaos of, oh my God, we're being raided. Like, what's going on? Like, firebenders are everywhere and now they're just killing us, kind of a thing. But that's not to say that all the action was like that, because there was a sequence, the really awesome sequence, where a female airbender basically makes her own tornado.
I remember that.
You can see all of it. You know what I mean? Like, you can see her just tossing people. You're like, wow, airbenders are freaking powerful. Like, if they weren't pacifists, like, they would be like the most strong benders in the place. And the way that Sozin kills her, and this is one of my critiques, is that I felt like some of the bending felt like magic and not like a manifestation of martial arts. Someone did say, like, well, you can say that Sozin's comment, was imbuing them so they don't have to do the martial arts to, like, do their attacks. But I felt like that was consistent throughout. The only time I felt like the martial arts manifested the bending was when we saw Zuko training with Iroh.
Yeah.
But there was a sequence where literally Sozin just lifts both his hands, and just starts flaming the tornado airbender. And I'm like, wait, but you didn't do anything. All you did was just lift your hands. Like, this isn't Darth Sidious. You're not Emperor Palpatine here. What's going on? So that was like a minor critique to have, but it wasn't like a deal breaker kind of thing for me. It was just kind of like different. And the airbenders, I mentioned this before, it felt like they could fly a little bit like more easily than the impression that I got from like the original series.
They're definitely more powerful in this one.
Yeah, like I was like, well, Zahir, when he does his Zahir things in Legend of Korra, holds less weight with the kinds of things that the airbenders were doing in this one. But it was actually really cute. I like the part where Aang is looking for Appa, remember, and he like actually makes his own little tornado and like goes to this guy and like that was so cute. I cannot emphasize enough how like cute and heartwarming some of
he's adorable.
God, like even right now, like I could feel myself like just the warmness in my chest about
when he's screaming Appa. It's so
good casting, man.
And he's like that in real life too. He's such a cheerful kid.
Such a cheerful person.
He's so old now though. Like when you see pictures of him and how he talks, it is crazy the amount of puberty that kid has gone through already. Yeah, it is insane.
He spent like a year and a half at the North. That could be the explanation. It's gonna like, I have to ask for water first.
I think people are overblowing how old he is now. Because when I talked to him at the after party, he still seemed like a little sweet, innocent kid to me. Like, I think people are just blowing it a little bit out of proportion. But yeah, he is a bit older. But he still feels like a 13-year-old kid still.
Morgan,
I mean, hey, that's what they gotta keep though.
Well, it's interesting because when I like grew up, and Aang was like older than me when I was watching the show, so it's really like weird to like be like, wow, this is a child. Like, so, but I think I honestly like, I don't know. That was another thing that a lot of people talked about was like the age of the cast, kind of, and like Q and Tio and
I low-key prefer it. I really prefer that.
I do too.
It'll take a longer period of time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I'd rather have like talent than exact, like, I don't know, age. Like, I don't think that super matters. I'd rather have like actual characterization, if that makes sense.
Morgan, did you have anything?
I suppose the only question I'd have about the first episode is just is the like Sozin's comet kind of prelude into the war sequence actually like a third of the episode?
Yes, it absolutely is. You don't get like the proper intro until like about 20 minutes deep. So the sequence of events is Sozin's comet like is the first thing we see. Like it's in the sky, but it's like distantly in the sky. So it's not like here. It's the idea is like, oh, it's coming. And then we pan down to Capital City. We see this Earth. Well, we don't know it at the time. We just see someone running through the streets of the capital city, and so you start seeing him earthbend. And like one of the firebenders is like, "What the heck, an earthbender?" And I'm also me in the audience. I'm like, "What the heck, an earthbender? Like, what's going on?" And you see that he has a scroll in his hand. He's running away, and we realize later that he's giving that. And they actually make a little bit more sense of why the air nomad genocide happened the way it did. AvaTubers, do you want to like talk about that? Because I feel like I've been talking for like a little bit now.
Oh no, they just so they make it make sense. Like you would think in the cartoon, if it's like a surprise attack, they would like call some help for some help, right? So in the live action, they made that not a possibility because they have like a fake out attack on the Earth Kingdom, so the world gets their defenses up for them, and they catch the air nomads off guard. So yeah, it makes a lot more sense like that.
Yeah, so that happens, and then you see the message get taken, and then you have like the air nomads conferring about, why it's so important now for Aang, to get his training as the Avatar because this big threat with the Fire Nation. And this is also happening. Like we have not even seen like the now timeline. They do it in chronological order. And then you have a really cool conversation between even the introduction of Aang, like the way that we see him on top of the roof and has like that pan over shot. Like even that was just so beautiful, and, like so nice. And then seeing the smile on his face, just him being happy, seeing all of his people like just living life. And then you have the conversation with him and Gyatso, and that stuff was so good. Where they had their conversation in front of a new Yang Chen statue, which was pretty cool. And then you have him getting getting the news that he is the Avatar. The thing that's different, and I know some people had an issue with this, was that he doesn't really run away this time. He just kind of leaves to clear his head. So when he takes Appa and then he soars away, it's more like too overwhelmed. I don't want to be the Avatar. And I do feel like the dialogue in that particular scene felt very expository, in the way that it sounded like he was just kind of like saying exactly what he felt in his head. It felt like a novel, sort of, in a way, and it felt a little bit janky. But then he flies off, and the storm happens, and then that's when the Fire Nation attacks. And there's no dragons. Someone asked me that before, like, this doesn't have a dragon. I'm like, no, they just have fire jets. Like everybody has fire jets. Like all the firebenders are imbued by the Sons of Comet and have fire jets. And then then it gets really brutal after that. And the fight between Gyatso and Sozin, it's not really a fight. I was kind of hoping it'd be more of a fight. It's more about just like Gyatso protecting the kids because he's in a room with a bunch of the Air Nomad kids. And he's just trying to protect them. And then he just gets hit basically with the fire blast that we saw in the trailer. But he doesn't really do anything past that, just defending. He just defends until eventually the fire gets through. And we kind of see him die. Like the fire does hit him. And like you see a little bit of like his skin being charred, but then they cut away. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like they really, really push the edge of this not being TV mature. Like I am actually kind of shocked that they don't have a TV mature rating, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we move on, and then we get to the regular episode.
So it sounds like they like restructured a lot of what happened in the storm, right? And then put it kind of at the beginning of the very start of the series. Yeah,
because I don't feel like we're gonna get the storm in the way that we got it in the original show. I feel like that's been like reworked. I mean, again, I don't know because I haven't watched the other episodes, but that's like my thinking right now.
Yeah, I think it could work if they no, because he still needs to tell Sokka and Katara what happened, so I guess it could still work.
Right, because he can reiterate it to them that, no, I'm ashamed for leaving,
Yeah, going back to like how some of the characters are a bit different, a lot of people like to hear about these changes online and like some of the dialogue that they say and complain about it. Like, oh, Gyatso wouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense for Gyatso's character. But like, it's important to note that these things that these characters are saying make sense for their live action counterparts a lot more than their cartoon counterparts. Like live action Gyatso works perfectly. Live action Aang works perfectly, even if they're not saying the same dialogue.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't even hear that critique at all. Yeah, I had no issues with Gyatso and Aang at all.
No, I didn't either, but some people were like, Gyatso wouldn't say that. Gyatso would tell him, I'm not going to let you take them away. Or like, like, no, what Gyatso did makes sense for his live action counterpart, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Whose performance would you say was the best? Oh my god, that actually shocked me about who's. So I went in expecting to like Paul Lee's Iroh. Not saying. Let me preface this right now. Not saying he was bad, guys. He was not bad. His performance was good. It's just going to take me some getting used to because the tonality and the vibe of his Iroh is just different. And I thought that was going to be like the home run or whatever. But it was Sokka, obviously as Sokka, that I was like, holy smacks, he's really good. like his comedic timing, like just like his nonchalance and like the way that Sokka's very pragmatic, that is definitely here. Like when they first find Aang at the iceberg, it's very funny. It's definitely different from the original where he gets shot out of the where actually he slides out of the iceberg, and it almost looks like he's like an alien. Like it's like because think about it from their perspective, they don't know what airbenders are. They don't know whatever. Like, you see this like weird, his skin looks like it's frosted. It looks like he just got spat out by like an alien egg, and like Sokka's like, what in the world? Like he's so good as like the everyman normal guy like situation. Like yeah, Ian for me was definitely like the highlight, like surprising. Like not so much like maybe not necessarily like my favorite performance all the way, but just like he shocked me so much that I was like, oh my god, like I'm paying attention. But Dallas Liu as Zuko definitely I think was like someone who I was expecting to be good and someone who was super good, but all across the board. Not to say that anyone was doing bad in it. I think that though I do heard people saying like Grand was very stilted. I didn't get that from it, and I think because she was playing the elder expository role, and it felt like the folklore you would hear from like a village leader, like very similar to like if you ever watched like Pocahontas or something like that, where you have like them all congregating together because they're like, oh, these Europeans are here. Like it felt like that, like, and she was giving that speech in that same vibe. But some people, I will put that out there, that there's been critique about Grand's like performance being very stilted or whatever, but I didn't have issue with it at all.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Grand critiques. She just talks more in this one than the original. I didn't have a problem with her either.
What was there some standouts for you? Who were your standout performances?
The same, honestly. Just Dallas, Ian, and Gordon were all amazing. Dallas really feels like Zuko. Like you can just imagine Dante saying all of these lines. He feels perfect. The whole like Sokka stuff was so overblown because you don't even notice it when you're watching it. Sokka feels like Sokka. Aang, again, I said this earlier, but like Aang shows so much emotion, more than he's ever showed in the cartoon. And I want to point this out because I told Gordon that himself. And what he replied to me, he was like, I would never want to compare myself to the original. I could never compare myself to him. And I thought that was really sweet of him to say. Even when he's getting praised, he still doesn't want to ever say he's better or even put himself on the original's level. He's very humble.
But he did a bang up job though. Like
he did an amazing job.
Fan-fucking-tastic job. Like I'm really proud of him.
It is still kind of crazy how I watched one of your recent videos where you mentioned the idea because he mentioned you in one of the recent Entertainment Weekly articles where the actors were talking about looking for inspiration from actual YouTube videos on Avatar, and one of your videos came across Gordon, and he mentions you, and it's like that stuff. It's stuff like that that's like super cool to like hear about when that like the people involved with the project can actually come across people who talk about it on like a daily weekly basis on their YouTube channels. And so I think even that in mind, I feel like he just seems like it, from everything I've heard and from everything you guys have talked about, he seems like he's just the right choice to have been the one kid to have portrayed the main character of this entire show on screen. So yeah.
No, he's perfect. And what's especially telling to me is that he said he prefers watching my cartoon videos, like covering cartoon lore, and he loves learning more about the cartoon and like some of that expanded lore. So he's just a giant Avatar fan overall.
Yeah, it's funny too because he hadn't seen it prior, and then he got put on, and now he's like a bigger fan than anyone.
Oh yeah, he says he's seen it like 20 times. He like watches it on a regular basis now.
Yeah. So yeah, he's the right Aang for sure.
You know what he told me that was like so sad when I heard it? He was like, when I was looking at people talk about the live action, you were the only one being nice to me. It felt so sad to hear that.
Oh, by the way, guys, like that's a real thing. These actors catch wind of all these things that are said online. So like remember that these people are people. Not saying that like don't go into the realms of like toxic positivity and that sort of thing, but like also these are people. Like, yeah,
and they're kids. They have feelings. Like people like for some reason think they don't have feelings and will like really get at them.
Yeah, right. They think they won't see it either.
Oh yeah, they see it for sure.
We can't skip over this. Although I did say a little bit. I think that Gia Windio was actually pretty good as Katara. It's just I think because her performance was so nuanced in the first episode, you don't hear a bunch of stuff about her. But if you really look back at it, actually, when I watched it again, I want to like look back at her performance. There was a lot of nuance to her performance. I felt like, particularly in her lips. Like she acts with her lips a lot. Like you can see little twitches sometimes in the way that she's like wanting to form a word in a very realistic manner. That I liked a lot. But yeah, no, just because you're not hearing like a bunch of praise for that performance doesn't mean it was bad at all. It's just that like with everybody else doing their Zuko doing his thing, Gordon doing his thing. No, she was completely fine.
Yeah. A lot of people like to talk about Iroh, and I feel like I didn't see enough of Iroh to really give an opinion because he had 4 lines. Like he didn't have that many lines. So
well, he
like,
had a pretty significant scene. Oh, so he has a whole new scene with Aang when Aang's
Yeah.
in the jail cell.
other than that, he doesn't have. I just feel like there's not enough content
Yeah,
there.
there's not enough.
Like
Yeah, definitely not.
Gran talked more than Iroh. Like
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah, Grand does have more lines than Iroh in this first episode. This is true.
yeah.
Well,
So
then
I
sorry.
didn't see enough. I just didn't see enough Iroh to really like say whether he's perfect or not.
Well, in the original series, like honestly, Iroh in the first season is kind of like, I don't know, just kind of a strange character to be, like at the very, very beginning of the show, just because he kind of just acts as like another bad guy with Zuko. It's not really
they
until
haven't figured him
later.
out. Yeah, they didn't figure him out because it was a pilot episode, right? They're
Right.
like, we don't know who these characters are yet. You know?
Yeah, and so late, it's only you really only start getting like the nuance kind of like a little bit later on into the season.
I will say you do get more of that nuance earlier. Like when he has this conversation with Aang, you definitely already get the sense of, oh, Iroh's not like a terrible person, but he's
Right.
kind of the sense I got from that conversation between him and Aang in the jail cell was that he understands that the Fire Nation has this culture to like expand and consume, and it seems like he plays into that, or he's still trying to like distance himself from that original mentality. Like he's still going through the process of like the Lutin tragedy and stuff like that. I mean, again, this is me speculating. I don't know how they're going to progress this or anything like that, but you do get that impression from that first, like to the point where I was like, is this a little bit too early to like getting a sense that Iroh's like good? Like and that was another little small thing that I had. It was like, this might be too telling too quickly. But yeah.
Regarding Iroh, because that's my boy right there. He's my guy. He's my favorite character in the whole show. He's the guy that I looked up to. He's the guy that I look up to because of who he is as a person in the cartoon. And so like kind of like for him, akin to like a character like Sokka. Like for me, the one thing that I think Sokka needs to uphold for his character in this adaptation is his humor and his sarcasm, because that's what people know him for. They know him
that's
for
definitely
his
there.
funny
I'll tell you that. That's most definitely there.
But yeah, so like people know Sokka for his funny quips and his bits, and so for a character like Iroh, people know Iroh because he's so knowledgeable and like he has so much wisdom to him, and like he comes out with those like very those like one-liners that really hit you in the feels. And so would you say so far he's got that more wisdom like touch to him, like just based off the first episode, or do you think maybe they're like saving that a little bit maybe for what's to come in the next couple of episodes, or the next 7 episodes?
Me? Yeah, I mean, there's like a hint of wisdom there that he has it, especially with his conversation with Aang. It's very telling in that way. But I think it's gonna be saved. Again, there's barely any Iroh. Like Gran. There's more Gran than Iroh in episode 1. Like,
got it.
Yeah, they're saving it for sure.
Yeah, it's coming. But yeah, there's no like sagely advice or anything in the first episode from Iroh, but like, which I mean, kind of sucks because they did cut the so this adapts the first 3 episodes of the series, which means there are some cuts, and one of those cuts was the Agni Kai between Zhao. There's no Zhao in episode 1. There was no Agni Kai between Zuko and Zhao. Maybe it might happen, but I doubt it would happen in the Kyoshi episode unless they have like they have that Agni Kai off camera. I doubt it though. That is going to be there. But like that's where you get kind of like the first piece of Iroh's sagely advice, right? Where he's like, break the root and stuff like that. And I don't know if we're going to have that in there. And that's one thing I was like, I'm going to miss that, having the Agni Kai. Because when you establish like the culture of the Fire Nation with the Agni Kai situation, and then the prelude to the Agni Kai that Zuko has with his father. So that was one moment I was like, oh no, I didn't think about that until like later while watching it. I wasn't like, I missed this. It wasn't until like maybe like a day after. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
I didn't think about it until later. Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't notice things are gone when you're watching it either. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with this adaptation. Like they're going to go into it thinking they're going to hate it, but I feel like it's going to win them over slowly.
Oh, one of the biggest haters of it. Do you know RDC World?
Yeah.
Did you see his reaction?
Yeah, he thought it was good. He liked
Bro,
it.
he went in there. He was like, I was in there fully expecting to hate it. He's like, go ahead, I'm going to sit here. What did he say verbatim? He's like, oh yeah, show me that ass. And then he played and he was like, bruh, it was good. I was like, yeah, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's funny.
it's gonna slowly win people over.
Yeah.
Maybe not like the hardcore critics who want to overanalyze every single line
Right.
possible. And
If you
compare it
do
to the
that, I
original.
think you're not going to like it. If you're in there trying, very similar. I mean, Uncle Iroh's tea shop. You know the quote. If you look for the light,
But
you'll
dude,
find it.
I have that literally pulled up on my computer right now. That's probably the one quote from Iroh that I think is maybe the most truthful thing, like, that you could possibly take from the show. Like, yeah, like you said, if you look for the light, you can often find it, but if you look for the dark, that is all you will ever see. And I think that is honestly based off, how entertainment is talked about nowadays. I feel like that is honestly the most true thing. If you're only ever trying to be negative or pessimistic about something, like, again, that's all you're going to ever see, that's all you're ever going to be consumed by. And almost in a way, that's almost kind of like a Star Wars thing too, because of, obviously, if anybody here has watched Star Wars, that's the whole antithesis of how Anakin Skywalker became who he became after Revenge of the Sith. And so, he was just consumed by all this hate and all this emotion around him, and it really sent him to the dark side. Not to be on the nose, but, and I think that's what we're seeing a lot with a lot of the reactions towards the Netflix adaptation for
Hey, baby
Avatar.
lion turtle. Hey, dude, if you're here, come in. You're supposed to be in the stream, bro. Come on in. You have the link, if you can. I don't know if you can. Apparently he's here, but I don't know if he's just here like texting or something like that. But if you hear me, baby, like, come in. You have the link. You know where the link's at. So come in if you want to come in. I'll add you in.
Baby, it sounds so weird.
I know, kind of weird. It's like, here, babe. But yeah, no, it's true. And it's funny too, because that line comes from Legend of Korra, the contentious Legend of Korra, which I am an enjoyer of. But it's very true. Like, I feel like if you're gonna be a hater and you want to hate it, yeah, you can nitpick it. Honestly, you can nitpick it for days, and you can find things to be like, I'm mad about this. I'm mad about this. Yeah, there's plenty in there that you could be nitpicking about. But if you want to go in there loving it and find what you want, like you will have a fucking great experience, in my opinion. If you're a fan of Avatar, I feel like you will have a great experience.
No, that's definitely good to hear. I mean, because you mentioned it, RDC, Mark. I did see his tweet as well about the show. I was like, oh, that's awesome to see too, because Mark is a really funny guy, and I know he's like he and all those guys are like super big in anime, and I know like Avatar is not necessarily anime, as opposed to it's more so
it's adjacent.
animated cartoon.
Anime adjacent.
Yeah, it's definitely you can't deny it definitely has those anime qualities to it.
Sure.
With like every time there's like a really funny reaction from a character that like they draw in like the anime style like face reactions, and it's just like, yeah, so there's anime qualities to it. But yeah, that was really fun to see. I saw his trailer reaction to the I saw his really funny trailer reaction to the show, and I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely not on board yet, but I'm glad to see that he turned a new
and
leaf.
someone like that, like, he was someone who I feel like was one of those people who were like actively like looking to hate it, and for him to turn, like, there's a reason for that, guys. Like, so if you're already like me and Avatars, who are already like super enjoyers of this franchise, I feel like if you're coming from that, you're going to be in the 8 to 9 to 10 range in terms of how much you're going to enjoy it. If you're in like the I'm going to hate it, then I can see you being in like the 6, 7, or 8 range, sort of situation. But it's always going to be like above 5 net positive, I think, for anyone who's going into this.
At the end of the day, the most important thing to note is that it will absolutely be better than the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's not a hard hurdle to cross.
Yeah.
Yes, it does surpass that for sure.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna say something, but I forgot. The baby lion turtle thing threw me off for a second there.
Well, it was interesting that you were talking about Star Wars, because I kind of feel like, sort of like with how Star Wars kind of evolved from where it kind of began. I see that for Avatar, and specifically like in the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, there's like a scene where Luke's like family like all dies, and Luke is kind of like, all right, let me move on with my adventure. Like, it's not really handled very well, and I don't think the original series is quite that egregious with it, but I definitely think there are some things that aren't fully kind of put together at the beginning of Avatar: Last Airbender, that I can see them like having kind of a necessity to restructure things and add different elements to it, just to kind of give it like more of a modern like understanding of how genocide and war and things are. It's
funny that you mentioned that, actually, because I feel like there was some critique about like pacing issues and things like that. And I didn't really have an issue with the pacing, except for one instance. So after Aang sees Gyatso and goes to the Avatar state, there's two differences that happen that I wasn't like a big fan of. Well, not two differences. I think this kind of happens in the original too. But the first one is it isn't Katara who talks him down from the Avatar state. They actually have a flashback to Gyatso that helps him remember, when his mentor was like talking to him about being like, "You're the best version. Like, if anyone's going to be the Avatar, I'm glad that it's you." Kind of a thing. And that gets him to calm down. I prefer it in the original show that it's Katara who's like, we're your family now. But someone said that, oh, but that doesn't really make sense, especially in the context of the live action show, because it seems like they've only met each other within like span of like 2 days. So it's like, how is she gonna say like this big old line about "you're our family now" kind of a thing when like they haven't even known each other? But I do prefer that it comes from Katara, because that is his new path forward, is with these two individuals that he doesn't really know yet, but like are going to become his family over the course of this series. And to have it be Gyatso, I understand it from the live action standpoint because of how much they established with Gyatso first, so I can understand why they made that decision. I just would have preferred it if they might have remapped it so that it was Katara or Sokka, or a combination of the two, since they are the path forward for Aang. They're the way that he's going to progress. Also, on that, in terms of the pacing issue that it had, is that after this big tragedy, this big emotional outburst from Aang, I would say like maybe like 2 seconds pass, and then they have Sokka make a joke, and I'm like, no, don't do the Marvel thing where you like, I think it's called like bathos, right? Where you undercut, like dramatic tension with like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have preferred it, and I know exactly how I would have done it, is that after he came down, maybe you see like the destruction of like the airbenders just for like a few seconds, maybe like just a quick few shots, so that you can still feel the landing of like the tragedy of it. Then you can transition to Sokka. I can't remember what the line was. I think he says like, not to be rude, but what the hell was that, or something like that. Like, because he's like, again, Sokka has so many like funny lines like that. But I felt like at that particular moment, I was like, oh, can we have like let the tension and the drama like land just a little bit more? But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about that sequence, Avatar?
I thought it was fine. Obviously, I do like Katara talking him down. I think the pacing was a little fast, but again, the show has so many redeeming qualities that I can easily forgive it. And it was nice to know that they were aware of the fast pacing as well. At the after party, me and Sword and Pen went and talked to Albert Kim for a little bit, and he brought it up. He was like, "Man, I really wish they showed episode 2, so like you guys could see that the pacing was deliberate and how it becomes a lot slower and more grounded as the series goes on." And he apparently fought for episode 2 to be shown, but they just wanted episode 1.
Damn, I'm surprised that they did shows too. Like, I actually was really, really shocked for that.
Yeah, it's nice to know that the fast pacing was
addressed, or they know about it. Yeah.
They know about it and they fix it later.
Right. Sorry, before we continue forward, Baby Lion Turtle, go ahead and introduce yourself really quick.
Hello, everyone. I just dropped in. I don't know if my audio is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just doing something. That's why I missed the first part of this call, but I'm Baby Lion Turtle. I have a YouTube channel also with negative videos for this entire year, but I'm working on something. I've not seen the live action yet, but I have been following it very closely for a long time, so hopefully I can add something to this conversation.
And what we did at the beginning was we talked about our timeline from like 2018 when it got announced to the big gap in between to now being less than a week away from it. Can you tell us what your timeline was with Avatar Netflix?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a big fan of the animated show and been like an active member of the subreddit and stuff for years. And I, of course, saw the initial announcement with Mike and Brian in 2018. Saw like them that they had departed in 2020. And then when Avatar picked back up, I started seeing, a bunch of Avatar channels pop up on YouTube. And I thought, I am already just as a fan, have so much knowledge about all these different things. So let me try to, make my own videos about these topics. So started making videos like 2020, late 2020 or 2021. And I've been following it very, very closely since then. Like one of my earliest videos was like breaking down the cast of the show right after things have been announced. And even now, like I'm breaking down the trailers, the teasers, all those promo videos. I'm not breaking them down with videos, but I'm for myself still. So I've been pretty closely involved with the live action from almost the very beginning.
Sick with it. Did you have any questions? I think you already, like I said, you've been following so closely, but did you have any questions about episode 1 that maybe Brandy and Morgan haven't like asked us yet?
I don't know what's been asked because I did just now join the stream when I said hi in chat. But I was wondering, like, everyone's talking about the sprint, like the mad dash pacing of the first episode. Like, was it like too fast or was it just fast? Because personally, I'd rather the first episode be like interesting and like get into the plot than too slow and boring.
I didn't feel like the pacing was. I didn't even think there was a pacing issue until later when I heard it from other people who said that they had pacing issues with it. The only thing will be that last one that I just described with the Gyatso, seeing Gyatso and going to Avatar State and all that kind of stuff. But for me, no. Like me personally, but again, like I can only vouch for like what I felt for it in my personal opinion. I didn't feel like it was really that rush. It wasn't until like in retrospect when I'm like, oh yeah, that was cut or that was cut. That I was like, I kind of wish we had more time for that. But during the experience, no.
And then also I heard from AvaTubers that like people were like in tears, sobbing in the theater. I was wondering if that was reflected also in the fan premiere, Antoine.
No, I didn't have any tears, but there was applause though. Like at the end of the episode, there was like an extended applause.
Like when airplanes land.
You said when
like when airplanes land.
Yeah. When an airplane lands and you safely come to wherever your destination is. There was like an extended clapping for it, and it's funny too. So AvaTubers, we were both there with Lucia, who was the who does the Azula voice for the Book 4 restoration. She had like not like the opposite reaction to me, but she had a more like mixed reaction of the situation, to the point where she was like really trying to like get me to like agree with her. I guess her misgivings with it, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just don't I don't agree. Like I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like I feel you. I'm not trying to like deny your feelings about it at all. Like if you felt that way about the pacing, like she felt like that there was 3 intros that didn't need to have 3 intros because you have like the Earthbender prologue, you have like the Airbender prologue, and then you have the intro, and you have Granny Graham doing the intro stuff. None of that affected me at all. And so someone heard us, like her and me going back and forth. And there was another set of fans who were because it's very tight in there, like the rows of seats are very tight. And then some other guy walked by. He was like, I don't know, that was really great to me. I was like, it was great to me too. Like I don't know what it was. And one of her critiques was that she felt like newer fans wouldn't understand it because there was like so much exposition, so much that was like going on. And it's funny she said that because as that happened, there was someone who was new, like it was a boyfriend girlfriend, and then the boyfriend was like. He said something to the effect of that he could follow along, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I wish you would heard this guy that was just talking about it. So I was like,
No, I felt they did it right like that for new fans.
Right.
Yeah, the chronological order thing definitely helped with new fans. I don't know what she's talking about with that one. I think she went into this whole thing looking for things to not like. Which I mean, sure. I mean, some people are like that. It's just what it is what it is, right? I didn't fully read her tweet, like dissecting it, because I don't know. I kind of want to stay away from the negativity. I have my view on things, and I kind of want to just wait for the show to watch it, and then I want to wait for the show to come out and give it one more watch before I really dive deep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Like any critique is fair because one should be able to have their valid, feelings about something. And then be able to just, share that. And then it could be others, because there could be someone out there who is very similar to her in terms of the way that they watch stuff or the way that they, consume their media or how they look at Avatar, who would agree, entirely with her and be like, oh yeah, no, I agree with that take. Versus us, like where we're, really,
well, I just prefer to enjoy things.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I prefer to have a good time and not to look for things to get mad about. But I know a lot of people just like to go in with that analytical brain, I guess, and just dissect everything.
Yeah,
it's not even almost like an analytical brain. I almost feel like it's just more of like a critical brain. Like I feel like everybody and their mother nowadays has to be a critic of something. Like they have to be involved in the conversation in some form or matter, either because they want the engagement or they want it for some beneficial reason, money wise. And it's just like
brain.
Negativity sells.
Twitter.
If my tweet said it was awful, it probably would have gotten viral. Like. Yeah, I mean, even very well.
Even with like Twitter, like so I follow Discussing Film on Twitter, and they posted a couple hours ago that apparently Ian Owsley came out with a quote that he mentions that Sokka is going to be humbled at some point, and he's gonna have this look on the fact that women are powerful in the world around him that he himself didn't see originally, and. Not even one comment into the comment section on that post. It's like it was the same thing that I had seen from the first time that the quotes from the original article came out about how they were going to tone it down, and how he treats women, and it's like people just they cannot make up their mind, and it's just like we know for a fact that he's going to get humbled in some way because we've already seen the reveal image of Suki training him to be a Kyoshi warrior in like her ways, and it's just like, okay, well, he clearly says something to her that is going to make him get humbled, and it's just like I feel like there's also people who are not like us who have seen all these images, who have seen all the footage and all these clips, and they're just going in based off the quotes. And I feel like that is such a disservice to knowing the full context of everything. And of course, not everybody nowadays wants to do research on everything, and so they don't want to actually do the work. They don't actually want to look for the facts. They don't want to look for the information that is needed to kind of make a more based opinion. Excuse me. And
to bounce off that point, I think like from our position as like the Avatar AvaTubers is still a terrible name, but yeah, but also everyone watching this video who's like is subscribed to Antoine. I think all of us have been following the live action for so long, like we're so like invested in knowing the actors, knowing what has been removed, what is changing, what plot lines might be going where. Like we have so much knowledge coming into it, and that is like not like we're the abnormal ones in this situation, like from a global perspective.
Right.
For like a lot of even like casual Avatar fans who like not even like subreddit casual, like for a lot of people, just people in the fandom, but for a lot of people who are just fans of the show, they watched the show, liked it when they were a kid. We watched it on Netflix in 2020, and they just know, yeah, Avatar is the best show. For a lot of them, the live action, they heard about it maybe in a few tweets in 2018, heard about it again in 2020 when Mike and Brian left, and they decided, okay, well, this is a bust now. And they see it, the trailer, followed immediately by a bunch of viral tweets saying that Sokka's no longer sexist, Aang is no longer fun, this is going to be terrible again. And like that's all, like those 3 tweets spaced over like 4 years is all their context. So it's not that surprising that people who don't have information are reacting as if they don't have any information. They don't know anything because they do not know anything. So I think that like, or my opinion is that like a lot of those people will just, watch the show still, obviously, because they're Avatar fans. It's going to be the biggest show, probably Netflix history. And then their opinions will just change immediately again because they have actual information for the first time in the past 4 years, even though they haven't been following the show. So I think a lot of the negativity is going to die down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Like once the
Yeah.
show like comes out, in the same way that I don't think you were here when we were talking about Marcus from RDC World, who was one of the big naysayers, who was like, it was good. Like I think that's going to be the majority of what's going to happen.
Well, I definitely think it's easy for people to just sort of take a really beloved show and kind of just be like, well, the original is perfect, and tear down whatever comes next because it's sort of a safe, I guess, opinion to have. So, and I don't know, I really don't take that very seriously, specifically because like you can't really make a value judgment unless you've watched it. Like there's so much context that just doesn't come with a trailer even, or definitely a news article.
Or even Aang, when they were saying like he's not going to be fun loving. There's actually a really funny scene with Aang where he's looking for Ava and he's like, "Where's Ava? Where's Ava?" And they're like, "What's an Ava? Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "It's a bison, a flying bison, like he's like talking to them like they don't speak English, something like that. And then he shows up. He's like, "Flying bison," I was like, he has such like good comedic timing as well. And like, yeah, the joy of watching that kid just be a kid is like all the way there. It's kind of crazy. Ethan, I want to talk to you about something about the Zuko diary. What did you think about how they did that? Because I loved it.
So when I first heard about it, before I saw it, I was a little skeptical, but the way it's pulled off is very good. Are you referring to how it kind of pushes the plot forward?
Well, yeah. I mean, the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because, I mean, as you guys saw in the promo pieces, Zuko was jotting down things about the avatars or just about his adventures in his diary. In the show, and it's funny too because I thought this was going to happen, but it didn't. Because we had just come off of the conversation between Iroh and Aang, and so when Aang, initially escapes and he opens up that door, I thought the first door he was going to go into was Iroh napping and him saying sorry, especially after he just like had the conversation with him. But it didn't happen, and I was like, oh no! But it was him like going to Zuko's room. And he picks up his diary and like stuffs it into his robes and like takes it. But what I like about that, and this is like looking more into like the arc of the entire series, is that basically Zuko is going to train Aang via the diary. So the way that Aang's going to figure out what it is to be an avatar, the history of the avatar is like all the spiritual, stuff around it is going to be, I assume, from this diary, which
Mhm.
was written by Zuko, who eventually is going to become one of his, Team Avatar members. So even just from that, from like a thematic standpoint, I thought was like really well done. And that's just me like speculating of what the setup for that will pay off in the end. But if they are going to pay it off the way I think they're going to pay it off, I think that's going to be extremely effective.
Yeah, it does. It makes more sense too, because instead of accidentally like stumbling upon this information about the past avatars, now he's doing it for a reason. Like he went to Kyoshi Island to ride some koi, and then found out more about Kyoshi. But now he's going to Kyoshi Island because of that book. So I think it makes more sense this way. But I think there are going to be some fans who are critical about that. But
Who want everything to be exactly like it.
yeah, who want But I like it. I think it's good. It's a lot
You
better seeing it in person than hearing about it.
You spoke to that idea of Aang going as like a quick side note. You spoke to that idea of Aang wanting to go and ride the koi in the Kyoshi episode, and a lot of people don't realize there's also probably another aspect to the whole thing of why they probably aren't including that, because of the fact that we mentioned this earlier in the stream, in the conversation, that this show is on a budget. It's like there are budgetary reasons why everything cannot be adapted. Like the Unagi is something that I'm going to, give a big assumption and guess to this. It would cost so much money to put that thing on screen and then have him do everything that he does with regards to, again, it's just this massive scale, giant CGI looking thing. It's just like, there are some things you just can't, adapt with regards to that. And I feel like a lot of people have to understand that, again, it's not going to be this one-to-one thing. And I've already made up my mind about that, it's not going to be a one-to-one thing. And I have to look at the show as if it's that case and just, talk about everything. I'll still obviously break down everything we see on the basis of comparing it to the cartoon. But I also will keep in mind this idea that, of course, not everything is going to be there. And I have to accept that. I have to understand that. And I think that'll help you when you go in to actually watch the show, I imagine.
Well,
yeah.
That's okay.
I also like. I think there was a kind of a large conversation before about like the purpose of even recreating the show, because I mean, I think most of us agree that it would probably be a lot worse if it was just like a one-to-one, like exact, because then really there's no point to that. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think that's why the whole boomy scenes aren't working in the promo, is because it is one-to-one. Like him jumping over the rock doesn't work in live action as it works in the cartoon. So everything that they did that was different worked better, in my opinion, than
Honestly,
a one-to-one shot.
The best thing to me was that opening sequence. Like, I was like, can we just have a live action Avatar show? Like, that doesn't necessarily follow Aang or anyone else, because, like, that was awesome. Like, that first sequence with the Earthbender facing off the Firebenders. Okay, we're going to move into Q&A now. So I'm just have everybody in the chat like asking questions for things that we might not have covered that we'll cover. This first one was, and this is actually a question I would have for you, Avatars, because there was laughter in my theater, but it wasn't like the whole theater like laughed or whatever. At Grand Narration, it was like maybe like a collection of people to like one side of the room. I don't know what the laughter was, like maybe because they thought it was cringe or whatever. I would have to ask those people like why they laughed. But I assumed there was no laughter for you when Grand.
No laughter with Grand. All the laughing was at the comedic moments. I think also because I was at a like an invite only type thing with cast and crew, everyone took it a lot more serious. There wasn't as many people like memeing it, going in thinking it's going to be bad. So I think that, and like obviously the room I was in is going to be biased. Like they have to be. They worked on the show or they're very close to it. So yeah, no one laughed at Grand in mine, and because of that, I didn't think Grand was even. I didn't think it was cringe.
I didn't either. I also was like kind of shocked that was a thing afterwards. Than hearing it, I was like, oh, I guess so. Now I'm gonna like rewatch that scene and be like, what did I miss with that? But yeah, my first viewing was not like that. So
the only thing I could critique about Grand is like she's like a fucking detective almost, with how she was like putting the clues together like about Aang. Like that was the only thing I wasn't like a huge fan of, but no, it was fine though.
Yeah.
Another Q&A is, do we think this will be good for new fans? Funny that you say that, because that's actually exactly what I thought while watching it. Like midway through the episode, I was like, I can actually show this to my girlfriend. I think my girlfriend can actually sit through this and watch it. Versus like the original show, which I feel is the first few episodes are pretty kiddish. It's kind of like when an anime fan is like telling you got to watch like 400 episodes for it to get good. It's like that for for Avatar. It's like it's a little kiddish, just a little Nickelodeon at the beginning.
Get to the storm and then it'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you get to the storm, you're fine. But this, I feel like I don't have to do any kind of like preamble, like don't worry about this part, don't worry about this part. It gets better at this part. I can just be like, hey, let's sit down, let's watch this, and I think she would engage with it. So yes, I absolutely think this is like great for new fans.
I'm surprised she hasn't seen Avatar.
No, she's had I think she's seen like maybe like 2 episodes while I was like watching them for whatever research I was doing for like a video or whatever. And she was engaged with it. But she never like went out of her way to like watch it or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
I
you
think,
guys oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think like a lot of people say like, what is the point of making a live action? And that's a stupid question because like, what is the point of making anything? Because money and people wanna, like, I don't know, but what's the point of making like a recreation or live action adaptation like this? Is that live action in America is just more popular than animation, makes more money, has a bigger chance of drawing a larger audience.
Yeah,
like I have not seen personally, like I've not seen the One Piece animation or anime, probably never will commit to all 1,000 episodes. Oh, live action was pretty cool. So now One Piece has the franchise One Piece has a new fan. That's why they're making a live action. A lot of people who just write off animation as like kid shit are now might think that Avatar is a pretty cool, respectful franchise.
Exactly.
Well, and I definitely feel like the first season of Avatar has kind of a barrier of entry for it a little bit. Not just because it's like animated, but really because the show didn't have like 100%, like it wasn't 100% like formed out of the gate. Like it had a lot of growth to do before it got to the point where I think it was truly like masterful, right? And to the point, like, I mean, I think if the whole show was like the first 3 or 4 episodes, it might have been very different. And so I think being able to like retroactively take that and then apply it to the beginning of the show probably is definitely going to be helpful. And even with the pacing, like I definitely think, I mean, the first season of Atla, the pacing is pretty slow. Like, so I definitely think that adding more pacing to the beginning of it will engage newer people to it.
Yeah, I actually made a video about this, about the Last of Us adaptation that recently premiered on HBO about like 6 months ago. There are some people who just don't play video games, right? Like they just don't engage with that at all, right? They're like, I don't want to have to like interact with the character and make them shoot people to like get a story, right? And that introduced so many people to that really, really amazing story that I have loved since that game came out. But yeah, it has that barrier of entry of playing the game to get the story. And so that has created, Last of Us now way bigger now to the point where people have actually gone back and played the original game. You don't necessarily have to do that. Like very similar to what David Lion Turtle was saying is that, yeah, he's a fan of One Piece, the live action, but doesn't mean he's going to go and read all those chapters or read or watch the 1,000 episode series. But he's a fan of the live action. And I think that's what we'll have here with Avatar: The Last Airbender as well. Okay, I have another question here. Oh wait, no, that one. I can answer that really quickly. No, I think, right? Avatar is no to this question.
Does anyone ever after finding out that? They probably do later, but like
maybe like a small thing, but not like a huge thing.
Well, the episode just kind of ended.
Yeah, like so we don't know yet. Like
yeah, it could happen in episode 2.
Yeah, we don't know. How do you feel about the progression of Katara's waterbending? Do you think her breaking the ice behind her, trying to bend the boat back, is foreshadowing to her hidden power? I didn't really think about that, but yeah, you could say that. Because yeah, it's different in the live action than it is in the original. She doesn't break the iceberg because she's mad at Sokka. They actually lose their boat in like this river cave situation. And she's trying to pull it back with like her novice skill of waterbending, and because she's struggling and she's putting so much effort into it, it's activating Aang's avatar state in the iceberg, which causes it to burst. What I will say about Katara, and at least it's consistent with the other show, it's still the same critique I have of the original that I'm probably going to also have of the live action, is that I feel like her progression is too fast as a waterbender, which I think might be alleviated because they're going to have this extended timeline sort of situation where it seems like they might be at the north for like a year or a year and a half. is that there is no sequence with Avatar Aang going to the Avatar state when he falls into the river, comes back up. Instead, he's flying his glider straight to Appa, to Sokka and Katara, who's saving him. And basically, Katara uses this huge wave to block the fireball from Zuko. Oh, by the way, Zuko is the only one who shoots a fireball. There's no Iroh shooting a fireball in this version of the story. So there's no change as well. If people want to nitpick, they're like, "But that was in the show." Like that's something you might probably hear. But yeah, like basically, Katara. I mean, you don't see the full extent of the wave because it's not a wide shot; it's pretty close. But considering how high up she is on Appa and how far down the river is, that's like a master level wave that she would have produced to block that fireball.
It's like an Ong level wave.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little too powerful, but okay, I guess we're gonna. I mean, that is consistent with the original show where Katara just seemed to have like a lot of power very quickly. But this is even faster. Like this is episode 1. She's barely figured out her bending from one talk with Aang. Yeah, so I'll say that about that. About that version. I don't know what you thought about that Avatar, or did you even notice that like she created this huge wave?
Oh no, yeah, no, it's the whole like when she made that wave, I was just thinking of the Last Airbender movie, the ending sequence. I was like, wow, but no, I thought it was fine. People complain about him not going into the Avatar state, but like, do you really want to see that 3 times in one episode? Like he's done it 2 other times. Like I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah, I think it was a big deal. The only big deal to me, and that's more because the way I started with Avatar was the Avatar Versus series, so I always look at like power scaling and stuff like that, and like people's power levels is like, why is Katara doing that when she barely has any like skill? Like what's going on? So yeah, that was an element too that happened within the show. We didn't talk about this.
Came across. Oh, my bad.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that one thing that never really came across in the cartoon is that apparently, according to Mike and Brian, like the entire show is full of bending prodigies, but apparently, like Katara is like the most prodigy of the prodigies.
And that is clear by how they presented her, so I wouldn't deny that.
Technically, that's in line with the cartoon,
yeah,
I guess.
And that's what I said. That when I was speaking, I was prefacing that being like, well, that is consistent with the cartoon. It's just something that I never even like, even from the cartoon's standpoint, that she was like that good, that fast. But you could say that maybe it's like the Great Water Spirit or whatever is doing that because she's like the only waterbender in her village, so it's kind of compensating and putting like all the power into her. If you want to get into like headcanon, spiritual mumbo jumbo stuff. But yeah, yes, the intro. I completely forgot to talk about the intro. It is different. There isn't like the red backdrop. It's more like picturesque. But when I first saw it, I actually was kind of turned off Avatars because it was lifelike CGI and it felt uncanny. And I felt like it should have been more stylized to not feel so uncanny, because I know that they were trying to do it as computer generated, but it was computer generated in a sense of like, oh no, we're trying to do like photorealism here. But it's the avatars now. It's not like Azula or the original version of Toph or the other
Gyatso or Aang.
I just can't wait to pause it on that staircase where they showed all of them. I just can't wait to pause it on that frame so I can just see who's there.
Yeah,
how many people were there? How many figures were there?
A lot.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like there was one point when they were kind of explaining like the Avatar state situation where like there was these. Oh, it was really cool. It's like these like weird like they were climbing the stairs to heaven, but it was like dark though, but it wasn't like light or whatever. And you can see like Roku going up, and like you see all the it was really cool. Yeah, definitely want to freeze frame that one and see what's going on there.
Yeah, one change that like had to be made that I seems like they did make by just explaining things is that like the Avatar state wasn't even a phrase in season 1 of the cartoon. Like in season 1 of the cartoon, people were just like, "Oh, why is Aang glowing? He's more powerful, I guess." We don't really know. That's why the first episode of season 2 like explains the rules, has an exposition dump right there, and it's called the Avatar state. That's what the episode is called in season 2. So they honestly like had to do the same exposition dump somewhere early in the first season of the live action, unless new fans would just have no context for what was happening. Why is the kid flying and glowing? Is this Super Saiyan? What is happening? So something had to be done there, and it's like they did it to maybe middling results, but we'll see.
I would be absolutely shocked if there was not a season 2. To answer this question from Arya, from your season, you think season 2 will happen from your reactions of what you've seen? Avatars, if they don't have a season 2, that would like be the most shocking thing to me ever.
Yeah, for sure. I have a little bit of knowledge on this, their plan. I talked to some people who worked on the show, Basically, they're kind of expecting a season 2. But what they want to do is, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but whatever. They want a season 2 and 3, and they want to finish it out. But after that, they're gonna try to renew their contracts with Paramount, see what that relationship's like, and then go off with a bunch of spin-offs.
Oh,
Live action Korra.
that would make me happy, or just like actually anything. Like
Kyoshi got thrown around. I'll say that.
I would love Kyoshi. Yvonne. Oh, by the way, guys, Yvonne Chapman is tall. Like I knew that she was tall when they cast her, but like seeing her on the red carpet, it like she was towering over everybody. I was like, oh, wow,
They made her taller also.
Oh my god.
It's weird
She
to
is
say
tall.
that because I swear when I looked her up to talk about when we got that new reveal of that one clip of her like a week ago, like I looked her up and I was like, okay, she's 5'8", but the actual character is like around like 6'5", like 7 foot. But like now that you're telling me this, I'm like, oh, okay.
Maybe she was wearing heels or something because she's
Those
not
actor
5'8".
heights are not accurate at all. At
Okay.
all. Like when I was meeting these actors, like from One Piece, Usopp's listed at 5'9", he's like 5'6". Luffy's listed at 5'7", he's like 6 foot. He was a few inches taller than me.
So they always try to be average, right? They always try to get their heights to like in somewhere more close to average.
Yeah, it was weird how he's listed at 5'7", but he was easily 6 foot.
Yeah, because Yvonne is not no 5'8". I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, they're
She's
all
not no
all the
5'8".
heights are wrong. And that Dustin from Stranger Things, I saw him. He's listed at like 5'7". He is like no taller than 5 foot.
Whoa, really? Oh, snap.
Yeah, he was like,
that.
I stood next to him and he was literally at my like chest level.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, so everyone's lying about their height in Hollywood.
Oh, this is a good question for everybody here. Are you guys going to watch it all at once or spread it out over some days? I'm unfortunately going to have to binge it, and I don't want to do that. I wish they were doing it as a week-to-week, or at least like maybe 4 episodes at the front and then 4 episodes on the back. But what are you guys all going to be doing when you watch it eventually?
If it's good, I'm gonna binge it. Like if every episode's good, I'll binge it. But if it's just like okay, then I'll take my time with it. I'm starting a campaign on Twitter to try to get this to be a weekly thing. So
Oh my
maybe
god!
we can-
If whenever you do that, let me retweet it or whatever.
Oh, I already
do it
tweeted it
around.
out.
Oh, you did? Okay, then I
Yeah,
have
but
to
it's
retweet
the results are like mixed in the
that. No, because I know that regular folks, like not content creators, actually prefer binging. It's just content creators who want it to be weekly because it's much easier to cover.
Well, what it
Even
is,
as-
what it
ahead.
is, people from like poorer countries want to buy the subscription just one time so they can watch all of it too.
True.
So
true.
like those guys are kind of getting screwed over because
I
they're
didn't think
just
about that.
trying to buy it for this month and then never again. So
Yeah.
they kind of get screwed over during all of this. But like, yeah, I want it weekly. It's
Yeah, not even from like a content creation standpoint because I'm terrible at that anyways. But even just like as a fan of like a thing, I like it when one episode comes out, everyone watches the one episode and everyone like goes to social media, it has the same or not the same reaction, but just reacting to the same things. And there can actually be like one joint conversation with everyone being roughly on the same timeline of the show. Versus when it just drops all at once, you're gonna have some people like Antoine who watch it, who binge it all on the first day. Some people like me who probably spread it out over maybe 3, maybe 4 days. And the conversation will last, in this case, it probably
Like 2
will be a
weeks.
really good show, but it'll be lasting like 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Versus if you do one episode, then it would last like definitely 2 months. It would generate 2 months of revenue for Netflix. I feel like there is no downside, I guess, except for the case that Avatar has just pointed out, to just having the conversation last longer, building up hype. Like if you look at The Last of Us, which released weekly, every single episode had more views than the last.
Yep.
It seems so obvious to me, but I'm not a Netflix exec.
Right.
Well,
yeah, we
it's-
don't know all the numbers that they be looking at.
It seems kind of like Netflix's thing is to always drop it like as a binge thing. So
Yep.
I don't know. I kind of feel like that's part of their brand at this point. So,
Yeah, for sure. But like some of their newer
That's
shows,
right.
like Stranger Things, they like saved the last 2 episodes for like a big grand finale moment.
right.
So I
Yeah.
had hope. I was deluding myself that they might do the same for Avatar, but probably on the last season or something else, but not for the first one.
So, Brandy, are you going to be doing that? Are you going to be binging it all in one day, or are you going to spread it out?
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to do a reaction. We'll see how far I get into that. You know, I'm kind of dreading it, but I'm
I know I
excited. I'm excited. So
I think for me, it's interesting because I think if I remember correctly, I looked it up myself because I think this is also a midnight drop as well, at least Eastern Standard Time, or I'm not sure if it's Pacific Standard Time for the midnight drop, but that would mean it would be dropping, at least for me, because I'm on the East Coast, it would be dropping at 3 in the morning if it's a
Yeah.
midnight drop. So I wouldn't be able to watch it until the next morning, which in that case, then it actually works out better for me because then I can just spend the whole day, watch the whole show, and kind of be done with it. And given it's 8 episodes, and I believe someone told me this in the comments of one of my videos recently, that apparently the reported runtime is that each episode is around 50 minutes ish. So again, that's about 8 hours of television to watch. And so for me, with what I'm going to be doing, I've already kind of laid out the plan of what I want to do. And then like from a content creation perspective, I then want to split up episode reviews per day in the sense that for the first couple of days, I'll do like a review of the first 2 episodes for the first day, and then it will repeat that process. So the next day will be the next 2, and then the next day will be the next 2, and then so on and so forth. And then after that, it'll be more in-depth stuff and detail-based videos. But for the most part, in terms of how I want to watch it, I think if that's how it works for me, since I'm on the East Coast, if it drops at 3 in the morning, then I'll just wait till the next day and just binge it all then.
Yeah, myself, I think I just accepted I probably have to do some initial coverage spread out over probably the first 2 days. So I think I'm just going to do try and do some basic coverage for the first 4, day 1, next 4 the next day. That way I get some initial thoughts out there and can then take my time to do the rest. It's frustrating. I definitely wish it was weekly, or at least split up a little bit. Even like Antoine said, I think at the start there, 4 episodes 1 week, 4 the next, just anything to give a little bit of time. Because Antoine, you and the AvaTubers probably have a little bit of an advantage here, because you get a break between the first episode and the next 7 at least. The rest of us, of course, have to deal with 8 at once, but it's fine. New content.
I saw a question in the comments, and also I'm curious about how is the music, because I think it has the potential of being very, very good.
It was awesome. I went to buy that soundtrack. They actually had a bus in the front of the premiere. You guys might have seen it, the Appa bus that has been going around the cities and things like that. They basically just had a DJ out there, just playing the soundtrack, and I want it now on my iPhone. That's
really cool. If there's one thing I absolutely need this show to do, and I'm not saying if they're going to do it yet, but I want to see Uncle Iroh playing a sungi horn. I want to see that so badly, because it is one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard from a musical perspective. Because given the cartoon, they play that a lot. And so I need to see Iroh playing that instrument, and I hope they add it in to the actual soundtrack and the music that's in the show.
That would be interesting, because that is a fake instrument.
Yeah,
that's correct
for the cartoon. So.
Yeah, I was actually talking to that about the Book 4 restoration people who I watched the screening with, and they were saying that they were trying to recreate that, and because it's a fake instrument, and that their composer had to go out of their way to figure out how to recreate that sound. Someone had mentioned the runtime stuff. So technically speaking, all the episodes together are 7 hours and 1 minute, because the first episode is an hour 1 minute. Warriors, which is almost one of the shorter episodes, is 48 minutes. Then 52 for Romashu, 55 for Into the Dark. Spirit Away is 50 minutes. Mass 56. The North, being the shortest episode, is 44 minutes, and then Legends is 55 minutes.
Interesting.
And thank you for Avatar Mundo for putting that together. They're like the new Avatar News to me now. In terms of the graphics and the information they put out. I said that most of their stuff is in Portuguese, so I can't really understand it most of the time. But it is what it is, man. Avatar News, if you can hear us, please come back. We miss you. I miss you very much.
I know, it's been rough.
He definitely gave a lot of news for me in terms of keeping me updated, at least before we got all the footage, because I think he stopped posting, way before we got even the first trailer and some of the first images. Yeah, I know. Definitely got to get him back. But for now, my main source of news is, of course, other Twitter platforms or profiles.
Oh, and then this kind of jumps off of what we were talking about before. So I heard rumors that people have seen all 8 episodes. Yes, the critics have already seen all 8 episodes. Actually, it's funny because that was part of your retweet, AvaTubers. Saying that, okay, we get weekly, and you were retweeting Grace Randolph, who's someone I watch very frequently. And she's seen all 8 episodes. She says it's really, really good. And she actually hates the fact that it's not coming out weekly for the reasons that we have illustrated here. Yeah. Because she says that each episode is jam-packed with so much that, you can dissect it over that entire week and then build on that. But I think Netflix hasn't announced anything yet. So let me make that clear. There has been no official announcement yet if it's going to be binged or not. So it could be that Netflix itself is like sitting on this decision until the last minute of whether or not they're going to put it out all at once or not.
I almost feel like it would be a detriment right now, given the fact that we are because it's Saturday now, so we're actually less than a week away. I feel like they are probably making it more of a detriment to them to not announce it now, so that people can plan out like how they're going to do this. Because if it is binge, that affects a lot of people. Like I've made a video about this, but a lot of people have talked to me about the fact that they live a lot more of like a real life now. And they, they've got jobs, they got a family, and they want to be able to, watch this program. if you're somebody who has kids, for example, and you want to watch this because obviously Avatar has a lot of kid aspects to it and kid themes. So like if you want to watch this with your kids, maybe there's an aspect to that I feel like might hinder some people being able to watch it. Now, to that point though, obviously we know like one of the biggest recent examples of like a binge season coming out that the binge model didn't affect it was Stranger Things season 4. Stranger Things season 4 was talked about for months after it all fully came out. And so and granted that is, in fairness, that's like the biggest show in the world right now that's still going. So there's a bit of a caveat to that, but I think Avatar has the chance and it has the ability, say like with One Piece and what One Piece did, it could pull a One Piece and, be in the cultural zeitgeist for like a good portion of time. And so again, to that point, I feel like it would do them a much better. I feel like it would do them a solid if they could announce if it is or not. But again, knowing it's Netflix, it's probably going to be binge.
Just to go off what you were talking about Stranger Things just now, is this have the potential to be as big as Stranger Things? I say yes. Absolutely yes.
Netflix is planning on it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my videos from a few months ago was about, but there are several interviews that Netflix execs, like high level, the people making all the shows, several interviews with them saying Stranger Things is about to end with season 5. We want to find our next main like flagship franchise. We think it's going to be One Piece, which they turned out to be correct about. They thought it could be 3 shows: One Piece, Avatar, and Three Body Problem, which is the biggest best-selling sci-fi novel in China. But they're making live-action adaptations of all 3 of those. And Netflix execs, the people who run the show, are saying these 3 shows have the highest potential to be the next Stranger Things. That's not our words. That's Netflix's hopes and dreams and ambitions, specifically with Avatar.
Another question we have here. Now that you've seen the first episode, what other characters are you excited to see? I would say pretty high on the list for me would be Kyoshi. I want to see how Kyoshi's implemented, especially because that's like the next big thing we're going to see with the not Masha episode, the Warriors episode.
Yeah, Kyoshi. I just want to know how they're gonna do the whole Kyoshi battle scene. Like, how is Aang gonna connect with her? Is he gonna have to enter the Avatar state to talk to her? Is it gonna be that statue? I'm ready to see how they do it.
The title of the first episode was changed. It's not The Last Airbender. It's just Aang. That is what the first episode title is. Let me see if there's any more, but I think we're close to wrapping up. Unless you guys have last minute things you guys want to talk about real quick.
Oh, what do you guys think of like everyone here? What do you guys think of Kyoshi being like just a regular person, like in human form, instead of being like a spirit, like Roku was at the temple?
That's a good question. I mean,
well, I would say it's similar to like the book 2 version when she possesses Aang.
I was just about to say.
Oh yeah, that's true.
When she shows up in Avatar Day, I was gonna be like, yeah, is it like along those lines? Versus obviously Roku, like when Aang first sees Roku in the Winter Solstice, they go off in the Avatar state of sorts, where like it's not in like the real world. Technically, but in Avatar Day, she does show up like actually in front of actual people.
Yeah, no, that is true. But in the temple, Roku was a spirit though, when he destroyed it.
Right.
Yeah, he was initially a spirit, but then he became more corporeal. Like because that's when they also the sages were like, "Oh my God, Roku," and then they were bowing down to him. Like he had a full form too as well, but he started off as a ghostly figure.
Really? I thought he was a spirit the entire time. Okay.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't translucent. He was solid. But I mean, that could just be like
but he was like glowing
thing,
like a spirit, though.
Well,
right?
in Korra, all of the avatars show up and they're not blue and glowy. So.
Okay, so it was just a one-time thing.
But sometimes things are inconsistent, like the fact that when Aang takes the energy from Ozai, like the whole eye beams thing, that was like a artistic flair, because that doesn't happen when he does that to Yakon. Yeah. So sometimes there's things like that where animation is like inconsistent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said that they would be, or Albert Kim and the creators of the live action said that they would be like streamlining and actually like creating not simplified, but just like actual rules for how the Avatar state works. Because if you actually do look at the cartoon, it is kind of random. Sometimes his eyes are glowing. Sometimes he gets taken over by Kyoshi or Roku. Sometimes an Avatar can appear next to them, like it happens with Korra and Aang. So
yeah,
we'll see how their take on how the actual like established fundamental rules of how does the Avatar state work.
Yeah. Well, in Atla too, like the Avatar state is very just kind of does whatever it needs to do, and
yeah,
with the plot,
Yeah, so I'm looking at the scene right now. Roku is solid but ghostly outlined in it. It's not until Kyoshi that she's more solid.
Yeah, I always like that though, the ghostly outline.
Mm-hmm. Guys, we only watched episode 1, so I'm seeing like questions about like things that like we can't answer because we haven't seen it. Like some people are asking like, is Koizilla in the thing? I'm like, we don't know.
I want to see Koizilla so bad.
I would like.
I don't think we're ever getting live action Koizilla.
I don't think so either. I think that the budget can't account for it. Yeah,
I feel like it's replaced it with the Karuk Avatar state.
That's what I think is going to happen. Yep, I think because they're going to establish that with the Kyoshi. They're going to establish that with the Roku. I think it's going to be a Karuk kind of situation, which would be kind of cool because that means we get to see like Karuk kind of fight a little bit. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Was there anything I was going to say? Oh yeah, so we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Was there any last minute things you guys wanted to cover before we all go hibernate for a few days?
I just have one little thing. So I don't know if anybody here who's watching the stream follows the official Netflix Avatar account on Twitter. They posted some stuff today with regards to apparently Cabbage Day, like there's an actual Cabbage Day thing,
yes,
the cast did a bowling version but with cabbage patches.
I did see that. Yeah.
And then there was also a cool little, retro video game thing, like retro arcade video game thing they did where you can actually play a retro, like old school style arcade game and you can destroy cabbages and like with all the different types of bending. And so it's just like, that's just like really cool, like marketing and promotion. Now, granted, I'm not sure like how many people actually saw that, but like in a way, that's like a really cool way to promote it. And some people have actually said that they might have actually given away the look of what Cabbage Merchant is going to look like. Not that that's like a big deal in any way, but like that's somebody I definitely need to see show up. But obviously we know he is.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Twitter and stuff like that, because I went on Twitter when you were talking about it, Avatar: Last Airbender is still trending number 2 on 2 days after the premiere on Twitter. So that's awesome to see.
That's really cool.
Oh my god, I was gonna say something else about something. Cabbage. Oh, so I was on the red carpet as well. I mean, I didn't walk it, but I was like there, like on the sides where all the fans were at. And no one recognized Cabbage Merchant, the voice actor who plays like Cabbage Merchant. Like he was like walking by, no one like really did anything. So I was there, and I literally yelled, "My cabbages!" And then he like turned to me and like smiled so lightly, and I was so happy to do that for him. Because no one was recognizing him. Same with like Teo, no one knew who Teo was or whatever. I was like, we know who you are. What are you doing walking around? Aren't you supposed to be in a wheelchair? Like it was fun like doing that for some of those people. But yeah, Cabbage guy, super cool guy, dude. He's super chill.
I never saw him. Oh my god.
So many people. There were so many people there.
Well, happy International Cabbage Day.
Yeah, happy International Cabbage
or
Day.
national. I don't know if it's international.
Sorry if you showed up late, but we have a whole playback, and you can play us back in like 2 times speed. So you can, I think the whole thing is like an hour 40 minutes, so you can watch us in like 45 minutes. Do you guys, by the way, are you guys 2 times speed or 1.5s?
I feel so bad that I have to even say that I am I am a 1.5 kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm a 1.5 default, and I go to 2.2 if something's still slow to me.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm default speed.
Hey, default.
Yeah.
Try it. I feel like if you try 1.5, you won't go back.
I feel like I have to go back and rewatch things like 100 times because of my ADHD. But
okay. So
I do that too. I'll replay the same scene like twice before moving on.
Yeah.
I'll watch my own videos in like 1.5 times speed. I'm like, damn, I wish I sounded like that for real. That'd be so much easier.
Baby, I'm the exact same way. Because actually, I even edit myself in 2x speed because I do audiobook engineering, stuff like that. Sorry, this is off topic. But I got to the point where I can do it fast now, and so I edit myself in 2x speed. So then when I hear back, like to do like the quality check, I'm like, oh my god, you talk so slow. I'm like, oh wait, no, Antoine, that's actually how you talk.
I've never thought to edit my voice in 2x speed. That I'm actually gonna steal that.
That
Yeah,
sounds kinda hard.
it's much faster. I mean, it takes time to like get used to it, but once you do, woo, you like cut your editing time in half. All right, so that is everything. Thank you all who were in the chat and contributed. Thank you everybody here for being a part of the stream. Oh, also guys, plug yourselves. Uncle Iro, go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously, mainly I upload on my main YouTube channel. It's called Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. And so I just do most of my stuff there. I'm also on Twitter for the most part. I don't really use any other socials for I don't use any other socials for my main YouTube accounts other than Twitter. So I'll link my Twitter in the description if anybody, or in the chat actually, if anybody wants to go check me out. But you can find me there and also on my main YouTube Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop.
Awesome. Morgan, go ahead and shout yourself out.
My channel is Airspeed Prime. Other than that, Twitter, I do post stuff on Tumblr, but I don't really, it's mainly just my videos. I have Instagram, but again, I mainly just post that, hey, new video is up. But yeah, mostly it is the YouTube where, like I said at the start, I cover a bit of everything Avatar, all the news, and I'm going to try in the middle of all the Netflix hype to still keep an eye out on what's going on elsewhere, because there is other news happening. Like, what was it, like 2 days ago, a new Avatar video game was announced and all this other sort of stuff that might get forgotten.
Yeah, I'm actually really behind on that. There's so much because of I've been recovering from the premiere. I'm like, you know what? I don't even think I'm gonna make videos. So I'm just gonna do another live stream. Like, this is all the things I've missed, kind of a thing, because there's so much that happened in like the last few days. Brandy, take it away.
All right, my YouTube channel is Avatar Brandy. I mostly do shorts. I do have some long form videos though, so you can check me out at Avatar_Brandy.
Avataris, take it away.
Yeah, if you want to check me out, youtube.com/theavatars, and it's pretty much all I use.
And Baby Lion Turtle.
Yeah, I'm just Baby Lion Turtle on all the platforms. Mostly just use YouTube and Twitter, I guess.
Sweet. And I'm Antoine. If you're already here, you already know who I am. I'm not going to do any host spiel. But again, thank you guys so much for being part of the stream. Everybody in the comments, everybody who participated as co-host today. Everybody get some rest. And I'm talking to the content creators right now because we are going to need because while we did, we're very hopeful that, we hope we get a weekly. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a binge, which means that we're going to be freaking working to the ground. So yeah, drink your water. Drink some green juice, get hydrated.
Some jasmine tea.
Some jasmine tea. Yeah, there you go.
Onion and banana juice.
Cactus juice.
It's the how was the cactus juice drink at the after party?
Oh.
There wasn't a cactus juice drink.
What?
Wow.
There was the
other
Fire
one.
Nation, a Momo's Martini, and the Avatar State, and that was it.
Missed
Yeah,
opportunity.
no cactus
For
juice.
shame.
Zero
There
out of
might have been
10,
at the boba
worst
truck,
show
but-
ever made.
There could have been one at the boba truck, but I didn't go to the boba truck.
Well, that is everything, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And as always, peace, love, and remember, be water, my friends. And ending stream. And